What if in Destiny 3 they just drop PvP?
It better be good PvP with dedicated servers.
No, I'm saying they just ditched it.
Drop it.
But nah, I think that would really hurt it, honestly. I think it needs both. As a PvP guy, I believe it needs both. If it was just a PvP game, even if it was solid, I don't know, because people expect
we know
loot and the looter shooter and the grind and the raids and all of that, so people would just be in shock, honestly, if they were just like Destiny 3 PvP only. Like, whoa,
No, Briar's saying they wouldn't have PvP at all. It would just
he's saying the opposite. He's saying, what if they drop
PvE only?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, if it was PvE only.
I think honestly, the same thing. I mean, yeah, you'd heard a lot of people saying there's no PvP in Destiny because we have a lot of faith. I have a lot of faith in it, in Bungie eventually, knowing what to do and what to make with the PvP. It's just like Watts was saying. I believe they're kind of still trying to fill it out, what they want to do with it. They probably have like our voices and then the Reddit voices, and they have all these voices, and they're trying to just find something that pleases everybody, and they haven't really found that identity. But
let me make an argument real quick. Let me make an argument for it. Okay, I don't actually think they should do this. This is an argument that I don't actually believe in, but I'm going to argue it anyway.
Dude, you can't play devil's advocate and then just give that.
You can't just take Pope's job. Come on, Briar.
We fired Pope. He keeps coming back. We know that there's far less players in PvP than there are in PvE. Yes. We also know that PvP limits what they can do with guns and armor in PvE. Right? At least having those two systems so closely connected. Like, you look at what PvE only looters can do with their gear, like Borderlands 3, like Diablo. Like, they can just go buck wild, right? They can just go absolutely nuts, and they don't have to worry about what does this mean for the Crucible.
Right. So,
well, I guess my answer to that would be when it comes to Destiny, when PvP is hot, it shows. You know what I'm saying? Right now, yes, we're in a very big PvP
was hot
run,
in Destiny in a different world, man, before Battle Royales, when arena shooters were still hot. Arena shooters just aren't the thing anymore.
I don't know. I personally, if Destiny 2 right now had the D1 style PvP, when in its prime,
arguably it does.
Man,
I mean, that's they tried to go back to it as hard as they could in year 2, and it hasn't really caught on.
Yes and no. I mean, the game feels different. Yeah. Honestly,
it definitely feels different.
Yeah. The game definitely feels different. It's hard to go back to like original, they brought back the old weapon system. They put shotguns out there, sniper rifles out there. I mean, sniper rifles aren't as good as they used to be. There's a lot of differences, but I mean, they tried hard to make it like Destiny 1.
I think personally, the issues that happen in this game with PvP is because of linking the loot together so heavily. And if they do, like, I wouldn't want to see PvP getting cut out of the game because it makes it unique in the way they approach it. Because it's not just tacked on; it's the Crucible. It's in the lore.
Yeah.
Like they've done a lot more than just putting an arena shooter into a loot game. It's interconnected because everything connects with that.
Sure.
But the issues is the peer-to-peer connections and the lack of ability to adjust balance in the game. Like 6 months go by, not much changes in the meta, and the fact that everything's interconnected from shooting something in patrol versus shooting somebody in the Crucible. And while it's a great merit to try to like chase and be like, you want everything to feel that way, I think it ultimately hurts the game too much. And they need to split that apart in D3 and have sets of gear and weapons that are exclusive to PvP. Because in my opinion, it would be really awesome to grind PvP specifically for weapons that I use in PvP and armor that I use in PvP, and then grind PvE specifically for weapons and stuff that I use in PvE. And you get what I'm saying? Like, those two worlds, they can coexist, but also be separated right there because the balance needs to be different. And I think everybody can agree, like, if you're nerfing Nova Warp because of PvP, and then it's just completely in the ground for PvE, and it's like, what the hell? I mean, some people love that class, and now they can't even. It just feels like trash.
So I have a question for you guys then. What if, because we're doing what ifs. What if Destiny had like a PvE only mode, And then if you want to play PvP, here is Destiny PvP. It would be like launching a separate game entirely.
The reason that I fell in love with Destiny in the first place was I got to go out into this world and find all this cool shit and then go blow up other Guardians with it. That was the origination of my love for Destiny. It wasn't the raid. It wasn't the story. It was, here's a bunch of cool shit, and now I get to blow up other Guardians with it. And that's fucking cool.
Well, so there's another thing that they could do, and this is, again, what Guild Wars did. So I always talk about it, is they have, so you go and you get a piece of gear in PvE. You can use it in PvP, but that perk is changed slightly. So in PvE, it does this, like, say, let's use, I don't know, Dragonfly, for example. In PvE, it's this huge explosion. It just, like, explodes everything. But in PvP, it's the same. It does the same thing. It functions the exact same way. When you kill with a headshot, you still get that, but it's just not as potent as in PvE.
Watts, this is what I've been saying for like 3 fucking years. Why don't they just use, against minions of darkness perk, like descriptor on perks, like across the board? Like, where is that descriptor? Why can't that be on like every fucking major PvE gun? This thing, it has tracking mines, little spider mines against minions of darkness. They don't track you.
Wouldn't that kill what you originally just said you want a PvP to be when you jump in? Oh,
yeah,
these
but you want
spiders track.
PvP to be somewhat
the thing
balanced
is, Briar,
enough that.
Well, Briar is sucking ass at Devil's Advocate. I'm just going to tell you that because he started out. He got to hold the position all the way through the argument.
Pope's got to show you how it's done, man. Come on.
You flipped it, man.
My bad.
If you're not getting comments, you're not doing it right. All right.
You had people saying, "I agree with you, Briar," in chat. Man, what the hell? Let me take over here for a second. Look, PvP belongs nowhere near PvE. It fucks it all up. So if D3 pops it out, the game will get better. They'll be able to make it more exciting. They'll be able to do the things that we really want as a PvE game. And it really goes to making it more fanciful. You don't have to make sense in a confined space like a Crucible arena shooter. If people want to play arena shooters, go play CS:GO, right? Did you see how many people were watching it? I know it's not, sorry, like Halo or whatever. So my point is PvE, Destiny would flourish under PvE only.
I think it's obvious that as a looter shooter, the game is going to flourish more if you have some crazy builds and crazy loot that you could chase. But I do think the core experience of Destiny is intertwined with PvP. And
I agree.
You can't take that away. It's just forcing the connection so heavily of like, if this does massive explosions in Patrol, then it has to do these massive explosions in PvP as well. That's the issue. It causes too many inconsistencies, and then we get a boring meta. On both sides. Both sides get a boring meta.
Yeah.
So like, they got to cut that. I really admire the fact that they've actually achieved having all this loot and gear work in both sides. But in reality, it could be a lot better if they split them. So 2 separate things to chase, in my opinion. Or some blur area, some gray area where they can actually.
They're not gonna separate them too much. They're so reticent to make that separation because they want you to be that same guardian, that thing that Briar talked about, the same guardian in the whole Destiny universe, right? They wanted you to be able to feel like the guns feel the same everywhere you go. So I don't think and under that ethos, I don't think they're going to separate them. Given that reality, I mean, it's like you're just gonna have to cut the fat on that, like that. I've with what the evolution of where PvE is going, I think raids and dungeons and these cool PvE activities where they need to go and what they need to do to flourish and be amazing. I'd rather have Bungie working all of their energy towards that than spending it trying to balance stuff and make it make sense. It's just seems like it's splitting their energy instead of with what works and what's.
I would argue though that when they have good PvP, then they can be slower with PvE content, right? It's like if the PvP is awesome and keeping everybody engaged, and there's not as many people yelling for new PvE content or that, the forges are boring.
Isn't Gambit their answer to that? Isn't Gambit the PvE players' version of PvP?
Gambit is definitely along that line. Yeah.
PvP is not going to satisfy Gambit is not going to satisfy hardcore PvP players. It's going to be that tether that carries the PvE player through. So,
I also man, with all these BRs and Apex just killing it with what they're doing and it being free to play, it makes it really hard to see it. If you're like a hardcore PvP player, I feel like you're going to be playing those other games also.
Yeah. Dude, maybe the answer isn't to kill PvP. Maybe the answer is to just start balancing the game around PvE. And PvP, yeah, there's some rough edges in PvP because we made all these fucking awesome ass guns and armor that work in PvE, and some people are going to bring those into PvP, and it's going to be kind of a nightmare in there because
it doesn't work.
There's some really overpowered shit.
Doesn't work. Look at Warframe.
What if?
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Warframe has that.
What
and
if?
It's dead.
So there's a way that you can do the separating without guns feeling different or performing different. They're just less potent. So say we do that. We separate PvE and PvP with this perk does 10% damage with Dragonfly instead of 50%. But what you could do is use something like Iron Banner, where it's your guns are the exact same. It's pure chaos.
Oh, interesting.
For a week in Iron Banner.
Yeah.
Power levels are enabled, which definitely speaks more to playing PvE. All of your guns are crazy like they are in PvE. And here you go. Here's your week of Iron Banner to go crazy.
Okay.
I like that.
Well, that could be a chaos mode in PvP, right? You could go in there and everything is exactly the same as PvE, right?
That's what happens when you jump into the Drifter's sack. Everything's the same.
That's true.
It takes wild.
No,
damage.
I mean, I guess
that's where the real PvP is.
Just to take that devil's advocate's hat off now. I mean, for me, the excitement of the community and being part of the community was moments where I got to see competitive gameplay being played at a really high level as a PvE player, enjoying and following teams that were grinding in PvP and top level gameplay. That's what got me excited about being part of this community. I was never playing PvP at that level, but I enjoyed watching it and being a part of it. Right. It speaks to the culture of this community, and I like the dynamic conversations. Some people, I'm kind of a masochist in that I like there to be arguments. I like that Breyer and I don't always see eye to eye. That Tefty and I, that Watts and I, that I've picked a fight with one of you on this podcast at some point, right? Yeah. Does that mean we're less of a family, right?
Yes,
no.
No.
It does mean. But I had a thing going. I was like,
sorry.
Okay. It doesn't mean I won't open end to the question then. It does not mean we're less of a family. It means we're more of a family. We're free to that we influence and change each other. So that's how I feel.
Yes.
Very true. It's yeah, but it's just the way Tefty pointed it out. It's just keep the PvE and the PvP separated, and you would have a good Destiny. I don't believe tank the PvP or bring it down a notch and just full on focus. I believe that there's two sides, both the PvE and the PvP, two big sides, very passionate sides that both want to see this game come up. And I know Bungie has the potential to do that. And I it's just a balancing issue. Mm-hmm. Keep stuff separated, and I guarantee people will flock back in this game in droves. Yes, battle royales are hot, but arenas are still hot too. Whenever the next Call of Duty and stuff comes out, people look at it. Saying whenever the next any type of arena thing, people go and look at it to see how it is.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, but look at that space right now. I mean, freaking Apex 8, Call of Duty, what is it, the Blackout?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
BR, it ate their lunch. I mean, if you try to go find a match to go play Black Ops, Blackout, it takes time to find to launch. I don't know if you guys have checked it out.
the Call of Duty, like not like the battle royale version of it, but actually just like
Okay.
a little 6v6 control and search and all that kind of
Okay,
stuff.
got it.
I honestly feel like what we're
yikes, so
what we're seeing right now in the BR space is a lot like what we're seeing at the beginning of the Xbox 360 days with Modern Warfare and with Halo. It's like I really feel like we're seeing the beginnings of that space evolve, and we're gonna see it, change into different things and get tighter and get better. I mean, you look at Apex compared to what we were playing 2 years ago with PUBG, it's incredibly different and much in ways much better.
Studio like doing a BR game, that's what we find,
Right. I mean, like, I don't think we've seen the last what BRs are going to do, and I think that Apex has proven that people who don't like BRs are like, well, this one's pretty good though.
You know what? Because it kind of feels like an arena shooter. Like it's, that's the type of games that I've been playing and really enjoying. The first person, the movement, all of that feels very familiar to someone who's really enjoyed first person arena shooters.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's just a really well balanced, feel good game.
Yeah.
If you landed with the Halo pistol, the OG Halo pistol in Apex, just
those guys are still working on a Star Wars game.
That's right.
They are. It's true.
Excited to see what they come out with. Yeah.
Yeah.
One more thing about Bungie, and it's the frequency of updates. Like, if they want a thriving PvP community, same thing with PvE, but like especially for PvP, they got to make changes quicker. Just straight up.
Yeah.
It's actually something they said in the ViDoc. They said that they are progressing towards creating, I can't remember the exact words, but they were progressing towards creating a Destiny that they can update more frequently.
Yep. Yeah, I remember.
Which was very interesting.
I remember seeing that.
Can I start like calling them on that though?
Yeah, I want to say this too because I feel like we've heard this before Destiny 2 came out. We're like, oh, Destiny 2 is going to get updated regularly. Awesome. 6 months go by. One-Eyed Mask finally is getting a nerf next week. Cool.
Yeah.
I know.
We're listening. Yeah. Let's keep the conversation going, and we'll go through like a 3-month period where they're constantly talking about stuff that's coming out, and they're having they're flying people out, and then they just go fucking dead quiet for 3 months at a time.
It's true. It's true.
I feel like
PvP feels.
Yeah, I feel like PvP metas need to be looked at, talked about, and updated on a monthly basis, minimum.
Yeah.
For the population.
You're talking about updates to the game, like sandbox changes.
Yeah, sandbox changes.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like having weapons.
Because I'm going to push back on that like concept of them. I don't think I think their communication has been the best in a long time.
Not about PvP.
PvP has been pretty quiet.
Not about PvP.
Pretty quiet.
They have been very quiet about PvP.
They have been very good about everything. PvP has been a fucking dial tone.
The only thing we've had is here's a Pinnacle SMG for Crucible.
Yeah.
Yay.
Oh, and One-Eyed Mask is being nerfed, but that's for everywhere, not just PvP.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like those are a lot deeper nails being driven into the coffin of PvP than another BR coming out, because people who want to play an arena shooter are going to play an arena shooter, and Destiny's PvP, if you've never played it before, is fun. Absolutely. But
it is very fun.
Things get old, and if nothing changes in that meta, then people move on.
If people are complaining about Titan skating and One-Eyed Mask on PvP, and it takes that long to get addressed, then yeah.
Exactly.
It's completely reasonable to see why people just kind of end up going to the next best thing that is getting lots of updates.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I basically told myself I'm not playing PvP until it gets fixed, until it gets changed, because it's so fucking frustrating.
There's a lot of people
that make the game not fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
I feel like gamers have like a lot of the newer companies or the newer games out there updating their games so fast that like gamers just come to expect it now. It's like, well, if you want to have a live service game, this is kind of what we expect now, because Fortnite's doing it, Anthem's doing it, Apex is doing it. Like, we just expect this to happen this fast now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even if you make mistakes, it keeps things fresh if you're constantly doing it, right?
Yep.
But when you go for like super long times, it just it's so frustrating.
Yeah,
Then you look at
you can make a lot more mistakes, and you can be confident in making, like, I might make some mistakes if you change things frequently enough. Because people will be like, holy crap, this thing's really overpowered. Oh, it's kind of fun to play against. You have that time frame, that little window where people love using the overpowered thing, but then they get tired of it because it's boring and it's stale, and that's all anyone uses. Throw in another update, boom, there's another thing that's good.
Exactly.
I've been playing a lot of Anthem this week, and last Friday they dropped an update to the game that severely nerfed how much loot you get in the game, like high-end masterwork loot. And within, I think, there was a weekend, Saturday and Sunday, but within like 4 days or like 2 or 3 working days, they had addressed it publicly and said a update was coming. Then a day later, they told us what the update was going to be. And then today, they put the update in the game.
It's impressive.
That's real fast.
But at the beginning of Forsaken, the response when the game would.
Here's the thing, though, Pope.
If you're comparing them, Anthem just came out.
But keep this in mind: player feedback saying this feels like it could be better, and that getting implemented within a week of it actually launching. Not like it being. There's obviously a lot of bugs and technical issues with Anthem. I'm not saying that's not the case, but in this particular instance, player feedback driven changes to the game within a week.
Okay, all right, I get you there, but I also like the fact that Destiny runs rather smoothly and doesn't have the shit that Anthem's got going on.
Totally,
no shit. Like, absolutely.
From what I understand
about, too hard to get like just an acknowledgement before like a 6-month period goes up.
I think that's the biggest issue here, right? The biggest issue is that the only thing we've heard about PvP is, hey, Trials is postponed indefinitely.
Also, there's a new pinnacle weapon.
There's a new that's all we've heard. So I don't think anyone I haven't heard anyone from the PvP side be like, dude, give us a massive update right now, Sandbox, put it in the game. People have just said, hey, can we know what's going on? Like, what are you thinking? What feedback are you hearing? What do you think we want? What are the issues that you found with Trials? Why have you decided to postpone it indefinitely? Like, just give me something so I can understand the issues that you are currently working through. Because clearly there's like, I don't not trust Bungie. Like, I think there's a good reason why they haven't just brought it back, but I would love to know what those reasons are. Then maybe we can work together and be like, okay, Bungie, well, I really think that this actually does work, and maybe we could do this instead of what you were thinking. But having complete silence is real weird.
The PvP side of Destiny still, it seems like they have that like Steve Jobs attitude of, you'll get what I tell you get and you'll like it. Like you don't know what you like until I give it to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
it has,
it
I'll be honest,
that way.
It has always, from the outside, their persona to the outside has always looked like, we know what we're doing, we know what we want from PvP, so this is what we're doing.
Right.
And there hasn't been much like leeway with that. It's like, this is the PvP experience we want to make, so that's what we're doing.
I disagree with you. I think that they have done a I don't know, man. Like, how do you? I think it comes back to this. How do you make a community as diverse as Destiny's happy? And I don't think you can.
Talk to us.
Yeah, no, Watts, you're one voice. You're one voice that represents one type of player in PvP. There is just
talk to us?
No, there's just as many equal voices that are have differing opinions of yours. I'm just saying.
Is there an opinion where they're like, I don't want Bungie to talk to us about anything? Because my opinion is literally just, I just want Bungie to say, this is what we're thinking with PvP. This is why we have said that Trials is postponed. This is why we're not doing sandbox updates. This is what we're currently thinking. These are the goals we're working towards. Like, I just want them to.
Yeah.
That's a reasonable request.
Like I'm not like Reddit filling up with a bunch of one-eyed mask issues back in October. Sure. I don't think we had any confirmation from them. They're like, oh, it's overperforming. Like that goes a long way from a developer saying, hey, you know what? This is a little too effective in PvP. We're going to be taking a look at that, What? Right. And it maybe even open it up to say, how would you like to change, as opposed to being like, well, I don't know. Oh, finally, it's happening 6 months later.
Yeah, getting the community involved, I feel like would also it would kind of give a lot more people hope, and you see a lot less of those like trolly. Oh man, screw this game, and man, this game's dumb, and why aren't you listening to us? Like if you just at least vocal with us, like Watts was saying, it would be a bit more understanding there, and just like we could get involved, and even though that's kind of hard to say too, because you have so many voices, not just us in the Twitch community, but like the Reddit community thinks certain way in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Same with Facebook and all that kind of stuff. You have all these voices. So I understand, that they're like, oh, what exactly we do? Maybe they're frantic, but if they just talk to us, we can see where they're at. That would definitely bring a lot of positive look at and whatnot.
You look at Gambit. Gambit released with Forsaken, and as soon as people started getting the Queensbreaker bow, like everybody was like, "Oh, this is kind of ruining this game mode because I just keep getting mapped by people who don't even have to aim this weapon." And now it was just last week we saw that we're going to get an update for the Queensbreaker bow.
Right.
A long time waiting.
That is a long time.
That's a long
Very
time.
long.
And not even like, hey, we figured it out. We're going to drop this patch today. But no, you got to wait a couple weeks further. Like, I mean, at this point, it's like a couple weeks is whatever. When you've waited 6 months for some changes on that. I think Bungie is its own worst enemy when it comes to this stuff because they make a fantastic game. We obviously love it. We play the hell out of it. But there's stagnant responses when things do come up. Really hurts. It makes the community get bitey until eventually something like Apex comes out, and then large number of PvP people are like, let's go play Apex instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like they are responsive, and they do talk to us and listen in the different places that they do, and it's it may not be feedback that we hear or we want to hear, the direction we want to go, but it does represent in a vision they have for the game. And you're right, if it's not the game that we want to play, then we should go play another game, right? And I've stopped playing PvP, and I went and started playing Apex. I love it. I still enjoy PvE. And that's the feedback I've given them, that, as a casual PvP player, I'm not enjoying this. And these are the reasons why. And then if they don't change, if they don't make a game that I'm wanting to play, then I'm leaving, right? I'm going and playing another game. But right now I'm really excited with what they're doing with the part of the game that I really enjoy playing. Right. And so for me, it resonates, not like you guys, not like you Watts, like you're talking about. I can hear your frustration. But to me, that frustration doesn't resonate with me. I feel like they are creating a game that I really enjoy playing in a way that I get to play it.
I'm not saying that I'm not enjoying. I'm really excited for Jokers Wild. I'm just saying that they had a podcast where they would speak to us. They were talking to us a lot on Twitter. And then they go through this point with like, oh yeah, this is so good. Please keep doing this. And people are literally saying, please keep talking to us, because they were afraid it was going to stop again. And it stopped.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to start it up again. Because if you just keep it open and honest the entire time, people know that if you say, look, we found this bug, it's really freaking hard to deal with it, but we found it, we are looking at it, we are actively working on fixing it, then you at least know that they are what they're doing.
Yeah.
At this point, I just have no idea what they're thinking about PvP. No idea what they're thinking about trials. I just have no idea.
Yeah.
I was just like an idea. It's like one idea.
Well, I appreciate you guys sharing. I mean, this is the conversations that I like to hear. I mean, we want to be able to, I think we represent a split part of the community that has this, we are the Hydra that is this community, right? Mm-hmm. And imagine being the Bungie and having to hear and respond to so many different opinions.
Yeah.